Uben Nefer, good rising and great awakenings. And welcome to day 14 of 21 days of self-care and global prayer, healing post-traumatic slave syndrome with sound. And today is the day for Sankofa Step number 5 about building esteem, healthy and accurate. Healthy esteem is a reflection of what you have contributed and the awareness of your contribution. And of course, the first time I went through the reflection process, I immediately went to my ego personality and the contributions that I feel that I've made. And my reflection was, I have made contributions and I'm aware that I've made contributions. But since I'm not aware of the impact of my contributions, I don't seem to value my contributions. And so then I sat with that for a little while, and I was like, man, that's not so good. And then I sat down again here at the at my station, and I reflected on the wisdom teachings that we've been studying with the Kemet University and the Terran community. And I realized that I've got to identify with my higher self and the self-esteem of my higher self and my royal personality. And I realized that when I first went through this program, I came to the same conclusion. I started thinking about steam and, steam coming off the higher self, all these weird ways to try to remember. But luckily it didn't take me that long to, snap out of the downward spiral, my ego personality. So, my higher self, I have very high self-esteem when I'm thinking about my higher self, my real self, my royal personality. And then I looked up the definition for esteem. Confidence in one's own worth or abilities. Self-respect, satisfaction in oneself. And then the word confidence means to put your faith or your trust in your higher self. Or in God. That's what the word confidence means. It doesn't mean, your ego self being like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. So this step is important for me. It's in alignment with, the Terran studies that I'm already doing. And I just need to remember that I do have high self-esteem when I identify with my higher self. When I identify with my ego personality, I have problems because I have a different value system than the one of society or the West. Like I was talking about yesterday, divest from Western values. So I just have to remember that I do have high self-esteem, and I don't have to build it. It's already there. I just have to remember. So I have to remember my esteem, remember that I do have confidence in myself and that I am worthy and of great value. And then when I apply that to the nation or to the planet or to the community, it's the same thing. The only difference is that the majority of people are not in tune with their higher self. And so we only see things from the perspective of time and space. So I'm in this process of building, my mystical perspective, or strengthening my mystical perspective. It's really just remembering. It's like a muscle. I have to remember. I know I'm a mystic, but I guess I have to remember to shift my perspective when I start to feel a certain way. Anyway, that is my commentary on this Sankofa Step. See if there's anything else I left out. that's about it. All right, so let's move on to the protocol. So we're going to be working on the meridians for the kidney and the bladder. Rage and terror are always present. They're always underneath the surface once you've been through this type of trauma until it's resolved. The kidney and bladder meridians mediate the freeze response and our sense of safety. And that is something that I've been fighting. I tend to freeze up, tend to silence, freeze up, and then I just kind of stay stuck. So this is a really good meridian for me to work on. Sense of safety, that is definitely connected to the root chakra, and the kidney meridian kind of runs through there. I didn't notice that. Oh yeah, that's the back. Okay. Okay, so I did the kidney and bladder meridians. Oh, let me talk about the tones we're going to use for today. From the chart for this strength, it's not really changing that much. Most of the planets are retrograde. The moon is the one that's doing the most motion. But for this step, I decided to work with Pluto, Jupiter, because they're both in Sidereal Sagittarius and they're both retrograde. And then I added the zodiac fork for removing blocks. So that would be Asar, Amun, and Anpu. And so I just worked with these tones, right? High, mid, and low range frequency. And after I worked on the meridians, I just felt so good. It was such a good feeling. So I just wanted to share that really positive feeling. For the extraordinary vessels today, I'm going to take a little detour, and we're going to work with the Dai and the Chong, because those meridians or extraordinary vessels both go around the waist or the hip area where the kidney point is, and also where our root chakra is. And the Dai is the opening point near the baby toe, stuck in frustration, trying to get through to things but can't get to them. The only channel that goes around the body like a belt, like the Milky Way or Saturn or Orion's belt. Helps us become more mobile, accelerates mobility to move, that by releasing from the heart. Accelerates mobility to move by releasing from the heart. Good intentions with little or no action. Indecision, forcing one to settle or have low self-esteem. The gallbladder, good for temporal headaches and hip pain. Back pain, hip pain, pelvic area. Alrighty. And then the Chong is the moving the chi between the kidneys, intergenerational patterns, treats cellular memory, genetic disorders, inherited traits, substance abuse, digestive center, opening point at the spleen, difficult issues, difficult to digest, grandparent, grandchild, ancestral imprinting, clears both muscle memory and cellular memory, trauma, PTSD, cellular memory, old trauma, new trauma, kidney, reproductive issues, prostate issues, menstrual issues, neutral space between the kidneys. So that's a good one for working on, a good point to work with when you're working on the kidneys. All right, so I'll give a demonstration of these extraordinary vessels. And for the protocol points, we're doing the 3 treasures, which combines your purpose, your desires, and your thoughts, so that your thoughts and your desires, your intentions are always focused on your purpose. So it's 3 points: the kidney point, the heart chakra, and the first eye. All right, so those were the self-care protocol steps. And now we're going to get ready for the Cosmic Chimes and Chanting session. I forgot about this amazing book of powerful affirmations, and it's got this whole chapter on self-esteem. So I think last time I read the first couple of pages. I'm going to read the second set of pages. Page 46. My inner self never feels out of place for any reason. My inner self never feels as if it does not belong for any reason. My inner self never feels inferior to anyone for any reason. My inner self never feels inferior for any reason. My inner self believes that I should feel good about my appearance. My inner self always feels good about itself. My inner self never feels inadequate for any reason. My inner self believes that I should always feel good about myself, with or without a companion. My inner self never feels rejected for any reason. My inner self always feels proud. My inner self believes that I should always feel proud. My inner self does not believe that other people's opinions of me should ever affect me in a negative way. Other people's opinions never have a negative effect on my inner self for any reason. I do not believe that I should ever have a low opinion of myself for any reason. My inner self never feels at a disadvantage for any reason. My inner self always feels special. My inner self believes that I should always feel special. My inner self will never lose its dignity or self-respect for any reason. My inner self will not be manipulated by anyone for any reason. My inner self does not believe that I should dislike any part of my body for any reason. My inner self does not believe that I should compare myself to anyone for any reason. My inner self never feels that anyone is better than it is. My inner self never feels that anyone is better than it is. My inner self does not believe that I should ever wish that I were someone else. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Sheldon T. Caesar, MD, for the most powerful book of affirmations ever written. And I believe that if someone were to read this book from cover to cover, consistently, daily, as a daily practice, they would get rid of their diseases and illnesses. My biggest problem is consistency. Okay, now let's get ready for the Global Prayer, Cosmic Chimes and Chanting session for day 15.